But this is honestly the real freaking secret, guys. This is the honest truth of what makes the difference. Because mechanically, all of you are doing very similar things, and you'll always need to make those tweaks to improve them and get better performance. But if you want to make astronomical changes in your life, you need to reprogram your subconscious.
What's up, everybody? My name's Mike Sjogren, here with my co-host,
Emmanuel Pani.
We're part of a group of specialized real estate investors you've probably never heard of.
We didn't start with deep pockets or wealthy families, and we don't rely on 401ks, mutual funds, or traditional real estate investing.
In fact, many of us don't even own the properties that fund our freedom. If you ask the money experts out there, they'd say what we do is impossible, yet it's happening every single day.
It's happening through a new niche called short-term rentals.
We are Short-Term Rental Nation, and these are our secrets.
He doesn't really need an introduction. He's got a tremendous story. He's very operational driven, as you can see in his last answer that he just gave to Jabbar. And it's just a privilege for me to work with him on this conference. If this is gonna be our last session of the day, I'm not gonna say we saved the best for last, because I think everybody that's here is the best, but please give a big, warm welcome to Mr. Michael Sjogren, everybody.
Appreciate you guys, man. This is something. I mean, just look around. This is incredible. I'm so grateful for all of you, seriously. So, don't clap yet. Let's get through this, and then you can clap. All right. So, for those of you guys that don't know me, I'm just going to give you the Cliff Notes version of my story because it's going to tie into what we're talking about today. So, you know, like a lot of you, I stumbled into this industry. I worked as a CPA for 10 years. You know, I did what they told me to do. I went to school, I got good grades, got a quote-unquote good job as a CPA. No offense, Ryan, wherever he's at. And things were going good, right? And then, you know, I got married to my beautiful wife. We had a son, and everything changed when my son was born. He was born with a very rare lung disease, and it was pretty crazy. It was pretty crazy for about a year and a half. So, you know, imagine waking up one morning, your son's face is blue, you can't wake him up, and you're doing 95 miles an hour down Route 1 on the phone with an ambulance trying to meet up with them because you can't wake your kid up. And anyway, we ended up getting to the hospital. They got him woken up, they got him on oxygen, and we ended up spending the next 3 weeks there. It was probably the worst 3 weeks of my life. You know, putting him through all these tests. He had MRIs, X-rays, you know, holding this little guy down so they can do a spinal tap on him. And it was just the worst thing. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. And at one point, you know, 3 weeks went by, and all the doctors are coming in, giving us their daily prognosis and all these things. And the only thing I could think about was, I've been here 3 weeks straight. I'm out of vacation time. I'm out of sick time. I got to leave my wife and my baby boy here to go back to a job to trade time for money. And I told my wife that day, I said, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to find a way to build us a business that gives us the income we want without ever trading time for money again. And within 15 months of starting this business, I was able to retire myself, my wife, and my mom through short-term rentals. And I am forever grateful for this industry.
Wait.
So, I appreciate that, guys. So now I'm super blessed. You know, like I was saying before, we've got 40, I always lose track now, 42 units in 5 different states, a couple boutique hotels. My life is completely changed. We don't have to worry about money ever again. We don't have to trade time for money ever again, thanks to building an incredible team like Julie was talking about earlier. Shout out to all of them. They're not here because they're taking care of all of our stuff right now. And shout out to E again, wherever he was at. You know, now we get to do this podcast, right? And I absolutely love it because I get to meet so many amazing people. A lot of them have been speaking on the stage. And if you guys follow the show, let me get a hand raise again. Who listens to the Short-Term Rental Secrets podcast? That's freaking awesome. If you don't, check it out. You'll like it. But the last question that we ask all of our guests is, what is your number one secret to success with short-term rentals? And I'm curious, what do you guys think it is? What's the difference maker with Bill and TJ and Tristan and Julie and Noble and Kyle and E and everybody? What is the real difference? Is it their tech stack, software, their pricing strategies? What's the difference? Same thing with these folks. Anybody ever hear Oprah Winfrey's story? She makes mine sound like a breeze, right? It's crazy. Elon Musk, I was reading up on him, same thing. His dad was a psycho, he had a terrible childhood. Steve Harvey lived in a car for a couple of years. Gandhi was able to end a war with no violence and, not the easiest thing to do. Tom Brady, Walt Disney, every time we go to Disney World, man, my wife will tell you, I'll just stand like a weirdo in front of that Disney and Mickey statue, and I'm just like, look at what this guy built. Think of how many people told him he was crazy. Like, you're gonna build what? Come on, man, right? I've been obsessed with figuring out what makes people succeed. What's that edge? What's the difference maker? And I've been reading a lot of books. I've been parts of countless masterminds, and we'll talk about that after. But has anybody read Think and Grow Rich in here? Should be mandatory for entry fees. But so if you're not familiar, Napoleon Hill, he interviewed, the most successful people on the planet back in the early 1900s, the Henry Fords, the Carnegies, Rockefellers, all these giants back then. And this is how he summed it up. He said, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve. And then 30 years later, who's read Psycho-Cybernetics? A lot less hands. This is a little nugget for you guys. So 30 years later, this guy, Maxwell Maltz, he was a plastic surgeon. And he used to get so confused because he would do these procedures on people that were in accidents or something crazy happened, and he couldn't figure out why sometimes when he fixed their body, their life would change, everything would go well, but a lot of the time it would just get worse and they would just go downhill. And this is what he summarized it. He said the self-image sets the boundaries of individual accomplishment. It identifies what you can and cannot do. Okay? The biggest roadblock that you guys have right now is right here. That's it. And I'm going to show you guys how to reprogram that over the next 36 minutes. So Dean Graziosi, super successful real estate guy. He's partners with Tony Robbins now. TJ's got to hang out with him a few times. The guy's incredible. And he's got a book called Millionaire Success Habits. And he talks about this concept of your internal thermostat. Okay? And now this is you. Okay? It's kind of a simple version of you. This is a version of all of us right here. And so we've got our conscious mind, looking at this diagram, and we've got our subconscious mind. Okay? The conscious mind, this is where we start to get our goals. This is where, we're all up here. But the reality is that the subconscious controls 96 to 98% of our behavior. So when E was joking around about the diets and not being able to lose weight and all that stuff, why do you think that is? Why is it so hard for some people to lose weight or maintain that weight? Or why is it so hard for somebody to scale their business? Because they're on autopilot. It's all these different things that are down in their subconscious. So the challenge is you need to get this goal down into your subconscious. You can call them, Bob Proctor used to call them paradigms. Think of your subconscious like a computer, okay? Right now, our son is 6, and I'll talk more about him after, and he's trying to learn how to tie his shoes. Did anybody struggle tying their shoes this morning? Probably not, right? I think you guys are okay. Has anybody driven to work before, and then you pull in, and you're like, I do not even remember driving, right? Because you've done it so much that it's just automatic. You just go throughout and it just happens. You don't have to think about it. The challenge is when you're starting a business, it's easy for me to say it now because I've done a lot of deals. It's easy for TJ, for a lot of these people, because we've done it so many times that it's just automatic. The challenge is, how do you make that happen before you get the success to speed it up? That's the secret. So the key is to get that goal into the subconscious. And there's only 2 ways to do that. The first is what Noble and I talked about. an extreme emotional event. If you guys listen to Tony Robbins at all, he talks a lot about it, right? Noble's wife was sick. He's like, fuck this, I'm not living like this anymore. My kid got sick. Fuck this, I'm not living like this anymore. And it changes everything. The other way to do it is through repetition, okay? So I'm gonna give you guys a little 3-step action plan to help you do this in a simple way. Now, the interesting thing is I've been studying this stuff for years, and I've been running my mastermind group now for, I don't know, since 2019, something like that. And I decided to test what I'm about to share with you guys on a small group of the students. So I created a new program called Limitless, and it was a 12-week program that only focused on what I'm about to share with you guys. It was 12 weeks. And I took some of my more experienced students through this. Students that were already doing well, they're already getting their foot in the door, they've got a bunch of deals, things are going well. I want to see how far they could push if they actually flip that switch, right? And I think all of them are here. Tristan's sitting up here. A couple other people was Joel over here. Carrie's crushing it right now. So just for context, and I don't mean to put him on the spot, but like Daryl is an example. He was with me for a year. He was at 8 properties, doing pretty good. In that 12-week period, he went from 8 to 24. Not bad, right? Tristan had 3 properties. He went from 3 to 12 in 12 weeks. And now 5 weeks later, he's over 20. And then Jill over here, she was at 26. She'd been with me a couple of years. She was doing good. She was at 26. She doubled it to 52, 12 weeks. So nothing changed. It wasn't marketing. It wasn't changing up their pricing. It wasn't doing anything. The only thing that changed was their belief. What was possible? How does somebody like Julie go from 0 to 130 properties in 18 months? Because she believed she could do it, right? So the first thing that you need to do is you need to get really, really clear on what you actually want. So I knew when I got started, I had to replace 15 grand a month if I wanted to leave. That was my number. That was my freedom number. And I did not want to work more than 2 hours a week on the properties. Once they were up and running, I was willing to hustle to go get the deals, but once they're live, I don't want to spend more than 2 hours a week. So I had a very, very clear goal. So I want to ask you guys, and if we get that, can I get that little mic thing going? All right, if somebody's got, Riley, you got the mic? Who has a specific goal right now that would be willing to share? Go ahead, right here.
I have 4 properties right now, and I'm planning on having 20 properties by the end of the year.
Okay, like it. I like it. Now, I want to help you reframe that statement. So in your swag bags, which I know some of you guys probably don't have them on you, but there's a little business card size thing that I left in there for you guys. It's called a goal card. We'll talk about that after. But once you get your goal dialed in, I want you to write it on that. And the reason for that is you can keep it in your pocket. And so anytime you're walking around, you go to grab your keys, your chapstick, your wallet, whatever, your fingers are going to feel that thing, and it's going to trigger your subconscious to think about your goal. All right, so it's just a little hack. What was your name, by the way? Lena? One little tip for you and for everybody is I want you to start putting that goal in the present tense. I'm so happy and grateful now that that I have 4 or 20 short-term rental properties generating whatever your number is. You need to be specific. Is anybody struggling to identify what their goal is? Because I get a lot of people apply to the mastermind, and I do a lot of those calls myself. And the first question that I ask is, what is your goal? What are you trying to achieve? The majority of people tell me, I want financial freedom or I want to travel. Those are the 2 most popular ones. But then when I drill down on what does financial freedom look like for you? So, okay, cool, you're at 20 properties, you're at, I don't know, 30 grand a month, whatever the number is. What does your lifestyle look like now? Like, what does your day look like? We need to start connecting those dots. So if you did not have to go to work Thursday when you get back, what would you do? What time would you get up? Would you go to the gym? Would you hang out with your kids? Do you do some meditation, some yoga? You go golfing? Like, what does your day look like? Does anybody know? Has anybody gotten real clear on this? Because 99.9% of people that I talk to don't. And that's okay, because I don't teach us this shit in school. Nobody taught me this until I started getting around some mentors that were 1,000 steps ahead of me, and they were like, listen, kid, you want financial freedom? These are the things that you need to do. And I listened to them, and it worked. The other thing I want to point out is, again, I got this from a mentor of mine. People set goals, and if you look at this little pyramid, most people set goals in these two lower sections. They set goals based on what they think they can do or what they know they can do, right? I like yours because you were at, what, 4? And you're going for 20? Most people be like, all right, I'm at 4. I want to get to 6, right? You're selling yourself short. You went from 26 to 52 in 12 weeks. Stop selling yourself short. Ask yourself, what do you really want? What is the real number for you? What is the real lifestyle that you want to have? How much money do you actually want to make? And write it down. The next thing that you need to do is you need to visualize. You need to be able to see yourself hitting the goal. There's been a ton of studies done out there, and there's one that he mentions in Psycho-Cybernetics where they took a basketball team and they split them into 3 different groups. One of them would shoot foul shots for 60 minutes a day. One of them would just visualize shooting foul shots for 60 minutes a day. And one of them would do a combination of the both. Okay? The crazy thing is the results were almost identical across the board. So your mind can't tell the difference from reality versus your imagination. So the more that you tap into your imagination, the more you start to reprogram that subconscious, the more your success just becomes automatic, okay? How many of you visualize your goals? We are in a good room. I like you guys. How often do you guys visualize? Put a hand up if you visualize once a day. All right, take them down. Visualize, put your hands up if you visualize twice a day. All right, put them down. Visualize if you, put your hand up if you visualize 3 times a day. Put them down. 4? All right, my people. So I visualize 4 times a day. 4 times, 5 minutes a pop, okay? And I'm happy to do a little exercise with you guys here. And some of you guys might be thinking, like, what the hell does this have to do with short-term rentals? Everything. Everything. Like TJ alluded to earlier. Everything. How many people in here use Price Labs? Okay. How many people in here are bringing in at least $500K a year? How many people are doing over $1 million? 2 million? Using the same software. It's not that. It's not the technical strategies. It's here. There's no difference, okay? So, you guys want to do a little visualization exercise? I wasn't going to do this, but fuck it, let's do it. All right, so I want to do a little warm up here. So I want you guys to close your eyes for a second. Ready? Just take a deep breath, just relax. I want you to just see yourself in your kitchen at home. Right? And I want you to walk over to the refrigerator. I want you to grab the handle and open it up. Do you guys see the fridge? Is it stainless? Is it white? Is it black? You got some funky color going on. Can you feel the handle in your hand? And then when you open it, can you hear the sound it makes, that little, as you open the door? Can you see the milk or produce, whatever you got in there? Then I want you to close the door, turn around, and I want you to walk over to your bedroom. Can you feel the floor under your feet? Can Can you see the trim work around the door frame? Can you see your bed? Hopefully you made it this morning. Put your hand up if you can feel yourself like you're in the room right now, like you're in your bedroom. Okay? All right, open your eyes and we're gonna go back and do that again after. Do you see the level of detail? Like it's real, like you're there. Your mind can't tell the difference. Now, if you close your eyes, can you do the same thing of hitting your goal? Do you have that level of detail about actually hitting your goal? So I want you guys to try this. The reason that I like setting a financial target is because it's easy to measure. The money's great. The time freedom is where it's at, though. I'll tell you that right now. But the reason I like to measure the money is because that's what buys you the time. The money buys you the people that can work for you, your amazing staff, fly to places like this, get your education. Money's the tool, right? But we need to have like a specific measure. So what I like to do is, say your goal is 20 properties, Liana, right? 20. What is your revenue goal? Because I'll let you in on a little secret. I've got 42, 43, again, I keep losing track. The number of units does not matter. It's the cash flow that matters. How much are you actually making every single month? Right? That's what matters. So I want you to think about what is the amount of money that you actually want to net on a monthly basis. Think about that. Write it down right now. How much money do I want to make on a monthly basis? Like, what do I really want? Not what I think I can do, not what I know I can do, but what do I really want? And write it down. Now, ask yourself, how are you going to know that you hit that goal? Like, do you see that number on your PMS? Do you see it in your bank account online? Like, where do you see that number so that when you hit it, you know, I did it? Like, where is the actual finish line so that you know that you hit the goal? Do you guys have that? Are you clear on that? All right. So we're going to close those eyes again. Let's take a deep breath. Just let everything go. Just totally relax. All the way down from your feet, up your calves, through your quads, all the way up through your midsection. Just letting all that tension out. Just totally relax. All the way up through your shoulders and your neck, all the way up to the top of your head. Just totally relaxed. I want you to see yourself wherever you're going to be. I personally like to see myself at my desk at home. So wherever you're going to be the moment that you realize that you hit your goal, I want you to put yourself in that moment. Are you at your desk? Are you in your car? You in the living room? On a beach somewhere? Get it clear in your head right now where you are the moment that you realize that you hit your goal. And then I want you to see it in your mind. I want you to see in that room. Are you looking at your phone? Are you looking at your laptop? Are you looking at a screen? What are you looking at to see your number? And I want you to see that number on your screen. And I want you to feel what that's going to feel like. You're going to feel proud. Are you jacked up? Just embrace that moment. What is that going to feel like? How good does that feel? Maybe it's 20K a month, 50K a month, 100K a month. Whatever that number is for you, whatever your freedom number is, I want you to feel it. Then I want you to think, what am I going to do now? Am I going to call my spouse? Am I going to call my kids? Am I going to call my friend? Like, who am I going to talk to and be like, you're never going to believe it, I did it. We did it. And then what does that conversation look like? Are they excited? Are they like, are you crazy? Like, holy shit, that's unbelievable. I want you to hear that whole conversation play out. And then what's next? Are you calling somebody else? Are you giving your notice? Send an email? Are you calling the boss? Like, what is that moment for you and how does that feel? And just embrace it. And just take a notice of like what's around you. Again, are you in the car? Can you see the steering wheel? See the radio buttons? Are you at home? Can you see your desk? Can you feel the texture of the desk? Can you feel your feet on the ground? Bring in all of your senses. What's the smell in there? You got a candle going? Bring in all of it. Feel it. Now the key is to start playing this little thing on a loop. So in 3 seconds, we're gonna have you guys come back and open your eyes, starting counting down from 3. So in 3, 2, 1, open your eyes. So I do this visualization, like I said, 4 times a day. And one of the keys is, even if you can only do it once or twice a day, and again, I didn't make this shit up. I read it from people that were a lot smarter than me. The key is, if you can only do it once or twice a day, do it right when you wake up and right when you go to bed. So like, I leave my AirPods right on my nightstand. So right before I go to bed, I do it for 5 minutes. I have this little piano melody song that just totally zens me out, and I just go through this visualization on a loop. And right when I wake up in the morning, I do the same thing. And the studies show, and again, I'm not a scientist or anything else, but the studies show that the brain waves that you're in between sleep and when you're awake, it's like a direct link to your subconscious. So if you can do it right when you wake up and right before you go to bed at a minimum, that's what's going to speed up this process. So I promise you, if that is the only thing that you do that for the next month. Right when you wake up and right before you go to bed, and get that dialed in, I guarantee your entire world will change. The next thing is you got to put yourself in the right environment. Okay? If you noticed, I think every speaker up here talked about masterminds. Yes, I run a mastermind, but I'm also part of a lot of masterminds. And the reason for that is you want to put yourself in the right environment. Okay? How many other people would you talk to that are talking about doing visualizations right now? I don't know what your circle looks like. A lot of people would think I'm pretty weird. I'm cool with it. I'd rather be rich and free and weird than cool and broke. So, whatever. So, now, the reason that this is important, though, is because inside in here, this is like an environment for growth. You guys get excited, you see the possibilities, you're meeting amazing people, you're getting all excited, you're sharing all these ideas, and then you go back out into the real world where all the naysayers and all the negativity and all the bullshit is, and it wants to suck you back down to where they are. I am ruthless with who I spend my time with. Ruthless. Ask my wife. Puts an appointment on my calendar during the day. Like, legit. Because I understand and I've experienced it firsthand. I think Julie was talking about it earlier. You know, when you're around somebody that's just super negative, it's just sucking your energy, you're just like, get the hell away from me, man. It's like they're like a vampire. But I bet you've also been around people, again, like Julie, that like, damn, I just want to get around this person. Like, I just feel freaking awesome around this person, right? Their energy's at a different level. So you need to cocoon yourself in from all the negativity and all the bullshit and put yourself in an environment with people that are going to support, encourage, and challenge you. When Tristan came in, he didn't know if he was going to be able to do it. And then he got to 3 listings, and I was like, what do you really want? He's like, I want to make 60 grand a month. I think he was making maybe 5, if that. As of today, he's at 50 profit a month. Hey, yo. Hey, yo.
Yeah.
Right? So you go from 5 to 50 in 12 weeks. Why? because he just started to believe it. That's the only difference. And then the leads start coming in. Even just conceptually, guys, you know when you've met people like Bill was talking about and some other people about, like, if you're not confident going in, people aren't going to want to do business with you. So who is that person? Who's that 50K a month Tristan? Who's that 20 unit a month person over here? Like, how does that person operate? How do they talk? How do they walk? Who are they hanging out with? What masterminds are they part of? What investments are they making? How do they think? I promise you, I am not even the same human I was 5 years ago. You guys would not recognize me. I was a super introverted dude that did not like people, that would hang out behind a desk and a monitor and crunch numbers all day. That was me, and I was good at it. But like, I wanted more. I needed more. And when your back's against the wall, some of you guys, you might be in that position right now where your back's against the wall. Good. Because that's where change comes from. So if it's not, then you need to do this. Put yourself in the right environment, get into different masterminds, surround yourself with people that are going to support, encourage, and challenge you, and do all these things. Now, the next thing, I was actually not going to show this because I didn't want it to come across as bragging. Like, that's just not my style. But I wanted to give you guys some actual context. So back in 2019, E and I went to Grant Cardone's conference down in Miami. And at the time, I think I had 5 or 6 properties. And I didn't have a podcast, I didn't have a coaching program, I didn't have anything. And on the way home, on the flight, I made this vision board. And I wrote out this 5-year vision for what I wanted for myself. And the crazy thing is, I got all of it. All of it. Legit. And so, to put context to this, we wanted a beachfront, beautiful home like this. We ended up buying a beachfront hotel. I wanted to join a country club. I really wanted to get back into golfing. Joined a really nice country club near my house, and I golf twice a week. I wanted to hire housekeeping for my house because I hated doing laundry and all that other stuff. So we've got a housekeeper that comes every week. I wanted a steam room, and I built one in my basement. I wanted a luxury SUV, which we got, and I wanted a sports car, and that's what we got. But the most important thing that I wanted more than anything was a healthy son. That was it, man. That was all that I wanted. And so when we were going through all that shit in the hospital, I had some of the best pediatric doctors on the planet. I'm fortunate I live near Boston. We've got some amazing pediatric hospitals up there. And as they're doing all these tests, they're like, listen, man, we don't know what the hell this is, but we've never seen any kid like this, and I don't think he's going to grow out of it. And I said, oh, fuck yes, he is. And for those of you that read Think and Grow Rich, do you remember the story at the beginning about Napoleon's son? In the book, Napoleon Hill talks about his son who was born without ears. And all the doctors kept telling him that his son was going to be deaf for the rest of his life. And he was like, I'm not accepting that idea. So he just kept instilling this belief in his son. He kept doing these affirmations and these visualizations and all these exercises with his son to make him believe that he could hear, even if he didn't have the equipment out here. And by the time that kid was 18, he could hear. And the doctors were like, what the fuck? So I held on to that story with everything that I had. I said, if that kid could hear without ears, then my kid is going to breathe without oxygen. And when we were down there, my wife will tell you this, they kept pushing us. They were like, we want to do this exploratory surgery. We're going to split them down, open them all up, do all these tests. And I was like, you're not touching them. We're fucking done. My kid is going to breathe on his own. So every night when we put him to bed, I would visualize myself in his body, breathing through him, and I would just see us playing catch in the side yard when he was a little bit older, just having a blast. And I did that every single night for 3 months straight. And then one night, we put him down to bed, and his oxygen monitor was perfect. And the next night, we put him to bed, and his oxygen was perfect. And for the next 4.5 fucking years, his oxygen was perfect. And this was us celebrating when we closed on that 11-bedroom house. We took him to Disney World for the first time, right around his 6th birthday, and he's a perfectly healthy kid. And so as much as the money and all that stuff is awesome, that is the real power of what I'm trying to show you guys. Because you can read all the books, you can do all these things, you can implement all the tech, but if you believe it and you persist in it long enough, you can literally do anything. Some of you might be thinking, I don't know, that's fine. But I promise you guys, my kid is healthy now, my bank account is ridiculous now, and I have an insane amount of time to do whatever the hell I want to do. And that was the message that I wanted to share with you guys. Because it would have been honestly very easy for me to come up and talk shop about co-hosting and boutique hotels and all the technical stuff on exactly how to do it. That would have been easy. But this is honestly the real freaking secret, guys. This is the honest truth of what makes the difference. Because mechanically, all of you are doing very similar things, and you'll always need to make those tweaks to improve them and get better performance. But if you want to make astronomical changes in your life, you need to reprogram your subconscious and start to believe in yourself that you know what's actually possible. How does a kid go from being a CPA with a good annual six-figure income, go to a kid in his mid-30s with a mid-six-figure monthly income? There's no other explanation, guys. I'm not that better of an operator than most of you. I think I'm pretty freaking good, but a lot of you guys, it's up here. Once you unlock this, that's the whole key. So I wanted to end with this, and I'm going to open it up for questions, because I know this might be really new for some of you guys. This is one of my favorite quotes. It's, I bargained with life for a penny, and life would pay no more. However, I begged at evening when I counted my scanty score. Life is a just employer. He gives you what you ask. But once you have set the wages, why you must bear the task. I worked for a menial's hire, only to learn dismayed that any wage I had asked of life, life would have willingly paid. Love you guys. So, appreciate you guys, man. Yes. Man.
Glad I'm not following that. Would anybody like to ask Michael any questions?
You can let them rip, even if it's not about this. I'm fine to answer any other hotel questions, but not good right now. I'm working on visualizing the shit out of that. It's like an 18 right now. So.
The gentleman asked, what masterminds are you in?
So I am in, there's this guy, he's about my age, a little older than me. He was Bob Proctor's protege. And his name's Dave Conway, awesome dude. He's up in Canada. And I've been in his mastermind for the last 2.5 years. E and I met in a different mastermind. I'm part of Cole Gordon's 8-figure boardroom. And then I'm also part of Alex Sharfin's more like leadership mastermind. So.
Yeah, it's a 7-figure mastermind.
Yeah, and the 7-figure mastermind, shit. I invest heavily in masterminds, guys, like 6 figures a year, easily. Because just being around those types of people will elevate you in all areas of your life, like financially, health-wise, business-wise, relationships. That's the name of the game.
I'm going to jump in for just a second. I'm in 3 masterminds as well. And one of the impetuses of why I started my mastermind is I wasn't getting what I wanted out of the mastermind that I was in as an attendee. He has a mastermind, I have a mastermind. There's other people, other coaches here that have masterminds.
There's a trend, it works.
I would strongly advise you to figure out the person that you believe you connect with the best and then have a conversation with them, because the masterminds, if it's good and you connect with them, changes lives. How many of you here that are in Michael's mastermind have had your lives changed? Raise your hand or give him a round of applause. Yeah. How many of you in my mastermind have had similar experiences? Raise your hand. Round of applause. We could go through every single speaker here that has one, and it's the exact same thing. Mine isn't better than Michael's. Michael's isn't better than mine. It all has to do with who you connect with. Do you agree?
100%. 100%. And that was what we were saying before. A lot of people think it's weird that we'd have all these speakers up here that are quote unquote competitors, right? Think about it. Bill's got one, I've got one, TJ, Kyle, Noble, Julie, everybody. Thing is, when you have that abundance mindset like Kyle was talking about, like, I love all these guys, man. Like, these are the people that I call. There's plenty of fish in the sea. And again, you're gonna resonate, some of you are gonna resonate with Kyle, some of you are gonna resonate with TJ, some of you are gonna resonate with Julie, some of you are gonna resonate with Bill, some of you are gonna resonate with me. Great, that's perfect. At least here you get exposure to all of them. And I promise you, everybody that was on this stage, I will personally bet my reputation on. They are all legit and they're all awesome, and I consider them all friends, and they are all successful in this business, and none of them will screw you over. So whoever you resonate with, go talk to them. If you don't sign up with them, just go pick their brain right now. This is your chance to talk to some massively heavy hitters in here.
That's one of the reasons that we're not selling anything from stage.
Yeah.
These are the best of the best. You need to figure out who you resonate with. And we got a lot more coming up tomorrow.
Oh yeah, we got a full stack.
as well. We're just getting started. We're not even halfway done. Did you have a question down here from Michael, or no? Okay. Does anybody have any questions? There's a gentleman right back here in the middle that has a question, about 5 rows back.
Hey, Mike, thanks for sharing your story. I really enjoy your podcast. So now that you've hit all those goals on your vision board, what's next for you and how do you keep going?
My goal is to continue helping these guys and grow my mastermind community and pass it on. So a mentor of mine 5 years ago, he asked me, he said, if you were bringing in 10 million bucks a year, what would you be doing? Like, if you didn't have to worry about money, like it was just coming in, what would you actually want to do? And I'd encourage all of you to answer that question for yourselves. And what I told him was I would be teaching financial education. Because I went through, got my undergrad, MBA, CPA, all this stuff, but nobody ever really taught me how money really worked and how to create time freedom for myself and actually have abundance. And now I get to do that through this vehicle of short-term rentals. So you talk to any of these guys or any of my friends up here, I can talk shop all day. So do not be afraid to come talk to me. I love talking about this stuff because I will be forever grateful for the people that shared it with me that completely changed my life. And now I just get to do that. Like that's the honest answer. I just love doing this stuff.
Greg?
What's your kryptonite? What's the one thing that if you could get out of your life that you would? And is there anything, and how do you combat that on a daily basis?
My kryptonite? I don't know. You might want to ask my wife. I don't know. She probably knows that answer for me better than I do.
I'm happy to share mine. It's wine and cheese and salami. Fine wine.
That's a really good question. You know, that was the question that I used to ask myself a lot as I was building this. Like, where is my time suck? Where am I not? Like Julie talked about, what are my strengths versus what are my weaknesses? I was trained, I worked as an auditor, as a CPA, so I was really good at analyzing process, creating process. I was good at it, but I didn't like doing it. So like, I built it for my business. I don't want to be in that anymore, so I have amazing people around me that are running all of that stuff for me. Right now, man, I love doing the podcast. I love doing this stuff. Like, that's pretty much it. And I golf twice a week, and I will get that handicap down. So that's pretty much it, man. And just hanging out with my kid, like just trying to be a good dad, honestly. Like, I feel like I've done very well in business, but I'm always like, I feel like I can always do better as a dad. And that's, I'm sure you parents out there can relate. Like, it's like, it's just this dance, man, of like, I just want to make sure I do this kid right. That's it.
Oh, no.
Oh.
Catch box down. It should still work.
Testing.
You might sound like a chipmunk.
Catch box down.
Hello?
What's your question?
Hey, so as you're building yourself and getting to what your vision and your goals are,
It's working.
do you believe that staying within parameters of where your time's spent now getting to those goals is more important? Or do you work the overtime now to try and get there faster to achieve more time?
My
Everybody
life,
hear that? Okay.
my life was extremely unbalanced for like 2 years as I built this thing up. Extremely. Right? I was working 50, 60 hours a week as a CPA, spending time at the hospital with them. I had a side hustle as a photographer, and I was trying to prospect for properties. So my like work-life balance was non-existent for a long time. I was okay with making that sacrifice because I wanted to get the hell out of there. It honestly depends on where you are in your journey and how quickly do you want to get there. Again, I had that, I was back against the wall. Like, I wanted to be there for her and for my son, and I couldn't. So I would have ran through a fucking brick wall to make that happen. I worked 15, 18-hour days straight for like a year and a half to do that. And then I was able to pull it back. But it honestly just depends on like, what is your why? Like, what are you going after? Because again, like, the money's cool, but Bill and I have talked about this multiple times offline about like, what is the lifestyle that you're trying to create? And what's the bigger plan for you and your family and everything else? Like, what's the end game for you?
I think the majority of entrepreneurs that I know that have achieved high 8 figures of wealth have been through that component. And you and I talk about this a lot, right? And I think it boils down to like where we're at right now. And a lot of you are W-2s that want to get out of your job. But if you create the wrong type of STR portfolio for yourself, then you can just be creating a job for you as well, right? So I believe, and Michael and I share this thought, we have the ability to architect our life. And almost everybody, you may or may not know it, but if you saw the blonde-headed girl, the little girl, and the red-headed girl today at check-in, and my wife yesterday, the curly frizzy hair, they were all here working. My wife and I, if you're not in my mastermind, you probably don't know this. If you're at the couples retreat, so I got some couples here, they understand where I was in my life. In a 10-year period, I built a $52 million and two $30 million companies, but my wife and I were not aligned. And we're into the last session now, right? My wife and I were not aligned. I had a gentleman named John Bairden completely change my life by sitting me down in a mastermind that I was in and said, we need to put a life plan together because we all aspired to be him. He was a 2-time Fortune 500 CEO. He was worth over $100 million. And all of us were like a $2 million company to $20 million companies. We're like, yeah, we want to have the success that you've had. He's all, the fuck you do. I've been divorced 3 times. I'm on my 4th marriage, and I have a 27-year-old son that hasn't spoken to me in 13 years. And it all started with the balance. So I went home after that meeting that night and talked to Bria and found out that we weren't aligned. We had a tremendous marriage, never slept on the couch, never, had to go stay at a hotel or any of that type of stuff, but we weren't aligned. And she said one thing to me. She's like, I feel like you're kind of turning into your father. And it was the worst thing she could have ever said to me, but the best thing as well, because my father left my mother and I when I was like 4.5 years old. And then he came back to me about 15 years later when a friend of mine, Tiger Woods, and I were playing in a golf tournament in the Junior World Championships together. And that's the last time I saw him. And I said, get the fuck away from me. You didn't want me for 13 years. You can't have me now. And I was afraid that would happen to my family because I am the alpha, quadruple, type A, OCD entrepreneur. I need more money, more money. The more money I make for my family, the happier we're going to be, right? $1 million wasn't enough. 2 million wasn't enough. Is it 5 million? Is it 50? What's enough? My wife wanted me at home. So I didn't turn into my father. We signed a contract, how much time we spend together, how much time we spend apart. If you ever, my guys know me, the Friday, you will never see me have one of these things on a Friday because that's Faith Fridays. Noon, 4 o'clock. We go through and we take an account of what we accomplished that week. Did we meet our 3 times to have sex in the week? You laugh. You laugh. But if you're not having sex with your wife or your husband at least multiple times a week, you're probably not in a very, very strong marriage. What'd you say? Fact. To how much time we're each going to spend with our children. To Are we progressing to our goal? And most importantly for me, how good did I do as a father? Now I'm going to cry. And every week we have to take stock of that. We do it on Fridays. We have a $15 million goal of cash liquidity, not equity in my portfolio. We had $800,000, very similar to him, $800,000 in net cash flow. I'm tracking right now to do $767,000 in net cash flow just off my STR portfolio. So what happens when you surpass your goal? You reassess, right? And I may not want to go to $1 million or $2 million or $3 million. I may want to take those 10 hours a week that I spend in my STR portfolio and take that down to 0. But you need to do what he said. You've got to create your own plan. I mean, this isn't Tony Robbins or Dean Graziosi or anything like that. But I'll tell you, my couples specifically that have been to a couples retreat with me, and there's a few here. You remember the first day, like the first half day? We didn't even talk about short-term rentals, did we? It was about our relationship with our spouse. It was about getting to know each other. It was about making sure that we're aligned. And I remember when you and your husband came back from walking on the beach when I sent you out for an hour. And it was like, wow. And I think Denise was sitting here, and Scott talks about his transformation that happened with his mindset. Those are the breakthroughs that we need to have to be able to scale to 40 properties or $1 million in revenue. The one thing that I want, especially those of you that are new here, that don't have properties or have 1 or 2, I bought my first one and it took me almost 2 years before I bought number 2. I didn't have $10 million when I started doing this to just go buy whatever I wanted to. Michael had to co-host his way out of being a CPA, right?
Yeah, we bought our first one, and then it took me 9 months to land that first co-host deal. 9 months of rejection.
I think there's this anxious component of I see all these people buying, right? And I've got to do it now. You don't. Build your plan. And if you're here by yourself without your spouse, sit down with them and watch the recordings when you get home and figure out your own plan. And if you can't figure it out, call me. I'll help you. And I'm sure Mike will do the exact same thing.
Yep.
I'm the idiot that posts my cell phone on Facebook. So if you want help, literally when after this and you're gone, I'll give you my cell phone number and you call me. It might take me an hour a day to get back to you, but I promise that I will get back to you and I will serve you. And I know he has that same giving mentality.
Want to transition?
Yeah. I think it's...
Actually, I want to ask, how was day 1?
Yeah.
I think it was all right.
It's pretty fucking cool. It's... I just want you guys to know how humbling it is for him and I.
It's crazy.
In no way do we ever think that we would have 1,000 people here. And that's a testament to him, to me, to all the speakers, the hard work that it is. TJ's launching an event in August in Houston that you need to keep your eye out for. It's a hard deal. It's a huge financial commitment. We're proud that you're here. And we want to make sure that we over-deliver for you guys every single day.
100%.
So we weren't going to announce this, and we got 5 minutes before we wrap up, but a lot of people at lunch have asked when we're doing the next one of these. We don't know yet. Because one, we didn't commit to this venue because we didn't know how many people would show up, and we're at capacity. So do you guys want us to do another one? If you guys do, then we will. Probably need 30 days, 45 days to figure out where it's going to be and what our budget is, and because it's a huge responsibility financially for us and time-wise. And I think it's just a perfect time to kind of introduce the bones behind this, that him and I couldn't have done it. If everybody turns around that's down here and look up into that, Chris, stand up. The curly-haired guy, Chris Wharton.
Come on, put your hands out. There he is.
Raise your hand so everybody knows who you are, Chris. He's the one that deserves a standing ovation. He's planned every detail, our run sheet down to the minute of everything that's happening. He's coordinated the AV, the food and beverage, the seating arrangements. He's done the marketing. He built the website. He built our Facebook ads. He's done everything. He's coordinated the speakers, the vendors, the logistics, the parking permits. Every single thing, one dude. I've helped a little bit, but 99% of everything that's here, we wrote the checks, and it's because of him. One more round of applause for Chris. Thank you, Chris. Before we get to this announcement, I'm going to share something with you, because the most important thing in business, in my opinion, especially if you want to scale, is to put yourself out of a job. You have to find a number two. If you can't find a number two, you can't scale. And I don't believe that you can scale if somebody's looking to build a true massive business. I'm not talking 20, 30, 40 properties. You want to scale to large, you got to have a number two. I burned through 5 number twos until I found Chris. If you're in my tribe, the Build Short-Term Rental Wealth tribe, he's the man behind the scenes with everything that we do. My mastermind people know how valuable he is. I challenge you to find that number two. My life changed with John Bairden and putting the contract in place and uniting and getting 100% unified with my wife, but I couldn't have executed all of it until I found him about 1.5 years later. We need a freaking rock star behind us. And as Michael was talking about those systems, was it you that said get on Loom? Love Loom. And documenting and creating SOPs and training, you need to train somebody that's going to be better than you. And typically that's a mindset. It's a scarcity mindset that we don't want to do that.
Yeah, nobody can do it as good as me. Wrong. Even if it's 80% as good as you to begin with, that's enough for now. And you can coach them up from there.
And then when you do it, reward them.
Yeah. Treat your people well, man. Don't be the boss like Noble's dickhead boss. Like, don't be that. You know what I mean? Like, treat your people well and they'll never want to leave you. Help them hit their goals and they'll never want to leave you.
All right, so we got 2 minutes. All right, so we will try to put one of these together. I know a lot of people have asked about, Bill, they asked me, am I going to do another boot camp? I'm not doing another boot camp probably this year, just FYI. But Michael and I have put something special together for those of you that have found value today. Chris, if you can pull that up. September 11th through the 14th, we are going to Miami, South Beach. 100 people, that's it.
Much
100 people,
smaller,
very intimate, small event, September 11th through the 14th. There is a $500 per person discount that is, we're in the way actually, that's available until tomorrow night when we leave here. The hotel rooms are like $269 a night. We got a smoking deal. If anybody's ever been to the Lowe's, Miami Beach, walking distance to Ocean Drive, walking distance to Lincoln Road. It's South Beach enough to where it's cool, but it's also safe and enough to where I'm cool taking my 2 young girls. Not that they're coming to this event, but we go and actually vacation there. It's gonna be incredible. We've got Kenny Bedwell from STR Insights, Julie George, Kelvin Ma from Rank Breeze is gonna be there. Jeff Hampton, I mentioned him briefly this morning, power attorney in our mastermind group, about the structure and the asset protection is gonna be there. It's gonna be 3 sessions in the morning on day 1, 3 sessions in the morning in a conference room on day number 2, 100 people. Then we're taking it outside in the afternoon, and we'll have the networking, the education will be in cabanas, at the pool, and at the beach. So completely different atmosphere if you guys wanna join us. We only have 100 seats. A lot of people have asked, that's why we're gonna introduce it today. We're planning on not doing this until after the event, but that's where him and I will be on September 11th. Anything you wanna add?
No, man, like, again, this is a blast, and it's incredible. The challenge with an event like this is to really, I'm doing my best. If I haven't met you yet, please come and find me. I'm really trying to meet everybody here. But when it's a smaller, more intimate event, you're just gonna get more one-on-one time with everybody, right? And it's just a different vibe. It's gonna be more education, but then also like some fun stuff like some beach volleyball, maybe a boat or two or something like that. So we've got some stuff going on.
Correct.
So it's
That'll
just
be
different
awesome.
style event. And we're going to just cover some other different topics around the wealth side of it, from the entity structuring and all that stuff that like Jeff blew my mind.
That's going to be the deep dive.
Yeah.
No question.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in that, take the link. It's miami.strwealth.com. If you can't see it, miami.strwealth.com. That's a wrap for today, folks. So here's the deal.
Hey, STR Nation, if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and leave us a review. And in the comments, let us know what topics you want us to cover on upcoming episodes, and we'll make sure to get that in the books for you. And if you really want to learn how to launch, automate, and scale your short-term rental business, if you want to go deeper, then check out our free masterclass at strsecrets.com.